Can we find the shop? I'd say it's good. Now, I put up a warning 15 minutes ago. You think I should go back and re-spam everything? What, Discord and Twitter? Ooh, I didn't tell Facebook. I should go tell Facebook. All right, go over to Facebook real quick. Hello to everyone showing up. I'll do that in just a moment. Good. Boop. Post. Posted. And posted. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Hello, hello, everyone. I'm sure people will start creeping in. It is a late night monthly chat. 8 p.m. on the West Coast, so at 11 on the East Coast, and fuck all early in the morning across the pond in Europe. So I'm sure people will start trickling in, though. Hello, hello, hello. It's because it's evening. That's why it's dark in the house. Just the one light to illuminate it all. The puppy. So welcome in, everyone. I of course have all the sound muted so I don't drive myself insane. The announcement of people showing up is still silent, right? Okay, great. We're still working out on the whole Twitch side since it's only the third month now on Twitch, but it seems to be working out well. So welcome in, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started on news now that we've given everyone a chance to show up. Let's see. Well, what is there to discuss? Of course, we have Binding Words 8 has been out now for a month. Um, Mostly good feedback from it. A lot of people were disappointed in what they considered a filler book. I considered plot advancing, but everybody has different opinions on things. So that's been out a month. Like I said, we've had decent feedback on it. That's good. Um, which has left me writing, of course, the next series in line, which is going to be Aether's Revival, Aether's Revival 5 being worked on. Actually finished now, off to the editors and beta readers and such. So we should get it out before June 1st, but we're leaving June 1st currently as our target date because I don't want to go over said date. It's always nicer to move it to release earlier than to have to apologize and say my bad and release it later. So there is that. Um, the 26th of this month, so in 9 more days, Apocalypse Gate 8 audio is finally going to be released. It's still up for pre-order now, but Podium has had it up for pre-order for a while. It goes live, I believe, on the 26th of this month. So there is that, the last installment of Apocalypse Gates. Um, Possibly forever, but at the very least for a while. Let's see. Um, Andy just finished recording Aether's Rival 4. I was audio proofing it the last 2 days, gave her back the corrections. So in the next couple of days, she will get the corrections done, and then we will hand it off to ACX. and then it'll be in ACX's court of when they finally get around to approving it. So I'm going to say in May, we should see Aether Survival 4 audio. The question of when, though, is going to be still roughly dependent on when ACX approves it and gives it off to you guys. Um, since I have finished writing Aether Survival 5, that does put me then to start in on Dungeon Walkers 3, to get back to Dungeon Walkers. Now, I have a lot of hope for Dungeon Walkers 3. There's a lot to go on there, a lot of story. I'm hoping, though, that the audience, that you guys enjoy it as much as you have the first two. But I am worried about it. It does borderline as a terrible series for me, sales wise. Um, so we'll have to see where numbers come for Dungeon Walkers 3. If the worst comes of it, then I do have I do have ways of gently closing out the series. Um, I'd prefer to let the series continue to what it could be, but um, of course it is still business, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. Do you have the Iggs out? The, the Iggs is out on the Sammy shoulder. You can see a tail on. You can see a chunky boy tail. Not as chunk as he once was. There you go. The Ig for your viewing entertainment. The tiny dinosaur. The minuscule dragon. He am so fierce. Um, that does catch us up to where everything is. Now I did tease like 3 lines of a book on my Discord earlier today, a couple hours ago, I believe. Um, see, because I haven't played a lot of games in the last like 2 months. I've been spending a lot of my free time that I would normally use for downtime, like video games and stuff, working on a side project. I might, perhaps, possibly, not guaranteed, put up the first chapter or so of that thing I've been slowly working on with my free time up on Patreon in the next couple of days. Maybe. It's not a guarantee. Just want to put that out there. I might do it. Depends on how the fancy strikes me. But it is something I've considered. All right, you guys have been able to run off ahead of me now because we've covered things. Let's uh let's see what people have to say. How have I been? I've been fairly good, honestly. Some good, some bad. Life. Nothing terrible though, so I will call it a win. The mom is here. I would have sworn she'd be in bed already. I mean, she's a little old lady, so it's not mean. It's truthful. She's like 5 foot now. She's 60 something. She's a little old lady. Factual statement. Not mean at all. Slice of life goes where it goes. Yeah, pretty much. Xbox was a good change of pace. I imagine the next few books will speed up as the players start to move. Well, yeah, I mean, it was wrap up for Hearthland and then move on to Accord. I mean, it's you're not gonna have the most action packed book there. Of course, we did have a lot of action in the last couple books of Binding Words. I mean, Binding Words 6 and 7, or 5, 6, and 7. There was a lot of death. I thought it was a nice little pace change myself. Actually made it to the live for once. Well, welcome in, Mike Vigiano. Hey, Vig. I'm just gonna call you Vig. Let's see. Cool. Binding Word 8 was nice. See, at least Binding Words 8 is getting its 11. It's always nice. I heard that ACX is doing a 10-day turnaround. Is that true? I don't know, Far. They have yo-yoed on that back and forth over the few years I've. Yeah, I guess it's still a few years. Handful of years now. Might be able to say handful of years now. Might have been 5 years I've done stuff with ACX. I'm not positive. They've bounced back and forth on, what their promised time is. So I take everything with a grain of salt when it comes from ACX. If you are some people, Will Rand, you can apparently get your audiobooks turned around in as little as a day. And then of course I've known other people who've had to wait a month plus before. So at the moment though, I'm not positive on what their turnaround is. And even if they told me yes, we can do it in 5 days, I would still be like, okay, I'll wait and make sure. I am looking forward to the next Dungeon Walkers. Well, I hope you enjoy it, Steam. Should be good. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there where we left off with Stern and company. So, I mean, it is possible, Holly. I mean, well, first of all, let's kick it back. Today is the 15th, okay? If Andy gets corrections done by Monday, or say the 18th, and we turn it over to ACX, there is the chance that they might have it out by the end of the month. There's a chance. However, it's ACX, so I wouldn't bank on it. Uh, I enjoy Dungeon Walkers is a series that I enjoy. It's different. I mean, the premise is a very nice. Hell, you could probably make it a nice little tabletop RPG if you want to do. Um, the talents, the ability system from Dungeon Walkers is a nice little thing where you can, really look at how you want to advance your characters. Not everything is combat based in there, as you see some of the perks. Thank you. I was thinking on the ability on some of the perks. Um, and the story is different overall because it's going to be a much smaller group of people, and of course it's fade to black. So I mean, there is a lot of difference in there from some of my other books. So it's nice in that regard for me. No problem, Trucker. Thanks for popping in for the little bit you could be here. That's what I hope, Wolf. I hope that people continue to enjoy it and the numbers start ramping up. Um, but honestly, Dungeon Walkers and Lux Voice are my two series that compete for which is going to depress me the most when I publish them. They're not bad series. A lot of authors would love to have them. Of course, a lot of authors don't have the overhead that I pump out at this point. So it's it's a funny thing when you get down to the business side of stuff. But I enjoy this. I enjoy the story. Uh, got here late. What is next after Aethers? Well, Phantom, that would be Dungeon Walkers. Of course, we'll do recaps as we do for those people who have jumped in late. There are 43 people on here late at night on a Friday. Well, it is a Friday night or early Saturday morning, depending on where in the world you are. I don't think there's anybody behind us. I don't think it's like early Friday afternoon. I think it's Friday or later everywhere around the world at this point. I could be wrong. I really don't really like the carried over relationship from Alpha World. Yeah, Xbox. I mean, there's bigger connectivity that is coming up, regardless. So Uh, Gotta thank you. Picked up Monster Saga from Eden Red based on her name being in the back of your books. Amazing series. Oh well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mike. I like Eden. She does some adult books very well. Been a fan of hers for at least a handful of years now. Back when she was doing Blue Mage, with which you should tread cautiously with. There's a lot of screwed up stuff in Blue Mage. It's very lifelike in that regard. Um, but I've enjoyed a lot of her works. I'm curious about the side project. I'm guessing it's a story and not something else. Well, I mean, you never know, Jazz. Maybe it's what is that, VTuber model. Maybe I'm going to have an ogre character that I just haven't shared with anyone yet. Okay, yeah, that's that's not true. I mean, that would be what I would use, honestly. I would just need someone to wireframe it and be like, look, it can move. My my girlfriend did make me a miniature ogre, so there is a mascot for the writing of ogreness. It's very blue on my screen. Yeah, no, but look at my screen. It looks blue on there. It's a blue ogre. It is a heartless ogre. Could just be my screen though. Probably is. I mean, it's green when I'm looking at it, but wow. I really hope it didn't translate. My camera doesn't translate to that blue. Maybe it does. Oh, it might because of the overlay. I'm using Pro 2 as a camera overlay, so it very well might come out blue. See, it's a blue ogre. So a blue ogre. It's an oni. It's a demon ogre. Makes sense. Uh, oh, it was my mom. My mom was here. Dame T Shinhofen right there. If she was here anyway, I don't know. She might have gone to bed. I mean, like I said, she's a little old lady. You never know. She might have fallen asleep with the iPad in her hand in the rocking chair. I feel bad sometimes when a book comes out and I wait for the audiobook version to come out, and it's fine, Outlaw. A lot of people need audio. I mean, especially my trucker fans, and I apparently have a decent number of trucker fans. It sucks for you guys in the regard that normally the book is out for like what 6-ish months or more by the time audio comes out, except for Dungeon Walkers, which Travis turns around like immediately because he's an insane madman who also apparently writes books now after having designed video games for a living and narrated for a living. Travis is just one of those Renaissance men that we can all slightly be jealous of. That and the fact that he still has all of his hair. Dick. I do have a glorious beard. That is the one thing I beat Travis on. Travis does not have a glorious beard. Soft G, but it's all good. It's okay, Vig. It's okay. Take the nickname. Enjoy it. Everybody needs a little Vig in their life. See how many different setup and accord. ACX. It'll be done when we feel like it. Yeah, that's ACX. That is, in fact, ACX. I liked the character growth of the girls in Binding Words 8, not just the wives, but the staff as well. See, and that was the point. It's you needed a nice little slowdown from all the death, in my opinion, and I thought I did that fairly well. So, you know, the old saying of "you cannot please everyone all the time" still factual. Um, I mean, no, I mean it would have been easy enough to let Sean create more and more different things, Vig, but it's also the fact that Sean wants to expand what he is at the same time. and it's easy enough for him to dabble with doing some things while also improving the life of others around him, because that's very Sean of just how his mind works. He always wants to help people around him, especially people that get shit for just being who they are. I made it this time. You indeed did, Leo. Welcome in, sir. Welcome in. I really enjoyed the reveal at the end of the first Dungeon Walkers book. I was trying to keep it under wraps for the first book. I was hoping that the reveal at the end was kind of one of those, oh, especially since Stern was, you know, being very, very just, mom, 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 and not giving away the fact that it was more than one person he was talking about every time he said mom. So I liked the end of it. Of course, it does amuse me when I get people who ask me if I'm going to write Delta World still. And I'm like, try Dungeon Walkers. And they're like, I did read Dungeon Walkers. And I'm like, welcome to Delta World? And then, normally it comes down to, yeah, but I was hoping to see more of Albrecht and his wives. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry that is not going to happen. They might show up in the background. They might get cameos. You're not getting a whole series based around those characters again. They've had their moments. Let them have a nice little retirement, even though apparently they're not really retired. Let's keep the earth-shattering stuff away from them as much as possible. I've enjoyed Dungeon Walkers, and I like the way the dungeons work. The dungeons are going to start getting more complex. I am really looking forward to digging into more of it and giving more complexity and showing a little more teamwork, besides just the, hey, it's rabid animals, let's kill them all. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what the story does. You're hoping to get AR4 before AR5, AR4 audio before AR5 drops? I mean, yeah, it totally should happen. I mean, currently my release date for AR5 is June 1st, and at this point we're pretty much just waiting for ACX to approve things. Because, like I said, it's going to be a day or two, and then Andy will have the corrections done, and then we'll slap it up on ACX. So it's pretty much guaranteed outside of ACX being ACX. So we can't control some things. Are you warning them that I'm minutes and minutes behind? Yes. Okay. Just so people know that I'm not ignoring you. I'm not. I'm just slow. Honestly, I'm just trying to answer as many questions as I can as I go, guys. So I'm not getting to them all right away, because if I do that, then I'm going to miss questions as I go through. I try to slowly scroll through and catch as many of your questions as I can. That's what it comes down to. So do bear with me with the fact that I slowly crawl through chat. Of course, the longer it takes me to get through chat, the longer we do a live chat. So there is another plus side to it all. Hey DV, welcome in. I love Lux voice and Dungeon Walkers. Gonna have to hit the discords and drum up support. I mean, by all means, Fig, please do so. Just do it within the rules and confines of those discords, Facebook groups, and everything else. Don't piss people off. I don't want you getting banned or getting in arguments with people over the books. We should all follow the rules where applicable. But other than that, as long as you guys do that, by all means, plaster it up all over the place. Bring bring out the fan base. Oh, the band. We do not have a band hammer. We do have a band mace, and it is a mace. It is not a morning star. I was reading a book the other day, and I don't remember which book, but the character said something like, and I used my mace, and it was a pointy ball on the end of a stick. And I'm like, that's not a mace, dude. That's a morning star. Morning stars have spikes, maces do not. Flails have a chain. There are clear distinctions there. Please, please. As a longtime nerd who has played D&D for many decades, please get your weaponry right. Uh, this gives me something to do on a Friday night. Well, other people have other things to do on a Friday night. I'm not sure what those are. I think I skipped that phase of my life, honestly. I know most people like at some point like probably went out clubbing and stuff because I know clubbing is a thing for most like 20-year-olds. Never did it. I figured if I wanted to get drunk, I could get drunk at home, which means I don't have to bump into people I'd rather deck than have to deal with. So yeah, I missed the whole phase of life in that regard. Is that your mugshot on the cover of Last Horizons? Are you talking about the dwarf? No, but I mean dwarves all have great beards and stuff, so I can see where you would get confused considering the beautiful beard that I do have. I like Dungeon Walkers because it tells us more about the characters from Outworld. It does. It does, and you'll get more of that as the series goes on. Uh, See, the nice thing about Dungeon Walkers, since it is Fade to Black, is you can give it off to like teens and probably not feel squeaky about it. Um, most of my series, you might want to consider who gets those books. I mean, totally should not be given to kids for the majority. I still wouldn't give Dungeon Walkers to like kids because of some of the content. The fact that there's um, implied sex, one, but also um, alcoholism is kind of referred to, and the fact that there was almost a rape for one of the characters, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it does. There is content that would not be beneficial for young minds. Yes, Alaska, I believe, is an hour behind me, and Hawaii is 2 hours behind me, Holly. Hey, Jerry, glad you could make it. It's nice to see the dragon has not yet bitten you in half on the way to Death Valley. Keep up the good work. I don't expect a major role, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some glimpses of Alpha World characters. Yeah, those are things that will be happening as Dungeon Walkers progresses. So seeing Sammy try to hold it together sometimes in the background is amazing. Yeah, it's a whole nother thing to watch. I mean, besides the glorious beard, you have the editor trying to contain herself. Sometimes it's smacking me in the head with a pool noodle. Other times it's just comments that make her go, "You can't say that." I mean, if I get in trouble with Twitch, that'd be weird. I mean, I'm not in a bikini in a hot tub for fuck's sake. Ooh, good point. YouTube can suck a dick. Uh, yep. Okay. There's the blue ogre. It was crocheted or knitted. It, okay. She said it was crocheted, and she's already answered that. So that's of course I take forever to get down there. Knitted. Never mind. She has now corrected her statement, and I see it there on my screen now. It does say knitted, and this is why we watch Sammy in the background. We did have some good clips of her from another live chat where I said things that she was like, "Oh God, that's true." Okay. Well, I mean, welcome to the live chat. DJ is going to write a new story about an ogre with a harem. Actually, I think that one's been done by someone. No, he was an orc, I thought. Um, okay. I want to say that was done by someone a couple of years ago, and not the terrible book that my editor is telling me in the background that she ended up reading the first one of and regretted ever having read. I can't. I can't remember though. I do remember something about an ogre as a main character for a book somewhere though, and I try not to go heavy on self insertions. Take that one however you like. I mean, after all, it is a self insertion. It's an ogre holding its breath. I mean, could be. Ogres are stubborn. Ask my editors. Sorry. Sorry, just got here. Had to take a shower after work. Sup, it's fine. We'd rather you be clean and ready for tonight's entertainment than dirty and ready for tonight's entertainment. Terrell, if you're here, you're probably going to get dirty enough. Uh, friends. Travis doesn't have your editors either. It's true. His book was very clean though. I really enjoyed it. Hang on. Lattes and Legends was the name of Travis's book, and I enjoyed it. And there's a phone going off in the background somewhere, and done. There we go. The editor has saved us once again. Uh, if you buy the ebook before the audio comes out, you can generally get a discount on the audiobook. It's true, Wolf. It all depends on whether or not it has Whisper Sync attached to it. Will James ever show up to surprise Sean? I mean, I don't know. I haven't written it yet. I stand by a very very simple creed for writing, guys. If it is not yet written, it is open for interpretation. Once I write it, it's there. But until it's written, ah. So we will have to wait and see what happens in the life of Sean as life goes on. Random question. Wow, that's not a question. I'm really confused. Hang on. Random question. What is a part you have been writing and said to yourself, "Oh, I've been waiting for this"? Killing Skippy. Seems fair, right? Um, most of my writing style is pretty much just a reporter of what for what my characters are doing. I don't really plot points out. I plot series out. Beginning of series, end of series. Here's some things I'd like to see. I don't plot out each book. I let my characters go where they go. So I don't really get to the I've been waiting to get to this point so much as this is different. Okay, boys. That's well, let's see how you recover from that. Do you sometimes feel that your books get overloaded with characters? With the last Binding Words, I sometimes feel like I need a Rolodex to keep everyone straight. No offense. Well, Outlaw, there's a thing called X-Ray um, for ebooks, and I try to make sure I have it on all of my books. The with a like the latest publication, it normally takes a little bit of time for it to get to a point where I can start inputting them. But it's a feature for ebooks that if you touch a name, it'll pull up a little blurb that the author, me, would have to go and put the information in on. And I normally put in, Sean's wife, cat ears, currently pregnant with their child, to, just remind you in case you can't remember who Mina is. Um, you know, a head maid of Sean's household has jackal ears. Just those little things to maybe help refresh you of who a character is or something that might have been said. Um, Joseph, terrible at waiting for people to tell him things, very impatient. Just those little things that might help refresh you on a character. So there is a way to help with that. The staff bloating Binding Words. Yeah, I can see for I mean, because it takes me about 6 months to get to the next book of a series. any given series, 6 to 8 months. I can see where maybe you might have forgotten, who Quinn and Quilla are, maybe. Um, I try to remind you in the writing of it, though. So there's a reminder that they're the animal handlers for the family. They're bovine moonbound. I try to give you those little nudges in the story to help jar you back into who they are and what they do. Not always successful, apparently. Can't please everyone all the time, but definitely have to please the girlfriends at least most of the time. Well, some of the time, let's be honest. 3 seconds of happiness and 30 years of regret. So, some people you can't teach, even if you slap people around the face with it. You can't, you cannot beat the stupid out of some people. Is how I've heard it said. God knows I'd like to try some days though. Really like to try some days. More complicated dungeons that deepen the world building. Count me in. Yeah. Considering how many dungeons there are supposed to be in that world, it's one of those things I'm hoping to slowly build into. But there are pieces that'll start adding in with this book. I hope. Need to do weapon research. I thought that was nice too. No, it's Morningstar. I think the distinction was set down during one of the Crusades. Something about intentionally drawing blood. I could be wrong. My memory could be faulty. I am climbing in years at this point. Uh, Clubbing isn't as much fun as macing. I mean, well, it depends on the mace. Is anyone wielding a band Tetsubo? I'm sure somebody somewhere is, honestly. I have to love people that know more about historical weapons than current modern current pop knowledge. Well, honestly, older weapons are way more interesting than most modern pop knowledge. Let's be honest. I don't care what the Kardashians have done in the last 10 years or ever, but the difference between Maces and Morning Stars way more entertaining to me. We love sharp, pointy things in my house. After reading the first AR, I bought us a Naginata. I mean, you gotta have dreams. You gotta have dreams. Dragonfly dreams? Dragonfly dreams. The dragonfly wielding a Naginata. The bugs are getting vicious, folks. The bugs are getting vicious. I know sex sells, but I prefer Fade to Black. Most sex scenes are way overdone these days, and it becomes basically the same thing you read in any other book with sex in it. It becomes completely unrealistic. I mean, fair enough, Leo. I normally go with about one sex scene per female interest, unless another character moment develops for them. Um, like I said, the easy one is going back to AR to Binding Word 6 when Sean and Andrea go to have a child because there's so much character in that moment where she's elated but heartbroken at the same time that scene plays out better if you show the scene than it would as just fade to black. So that's how I've taken to going um for the last couple of years now. I want to say I've pretty much held to that point at this held to that idea at this point. Was rereading was reading Wheel of Time at 10. Now I need Dirty Harem authors, so I we turned out fine. Well, I mean, some of us were reading, Heinlein and Spider Robinson, so I'm sure that I am a well-adjusted individual. I make sure to tune myself every once in a while, tighten the bolts down. Some are the same. The Twitch is pretty forgiving. Yeah, Twitch has been very forgiving, on and off. Some people keep getting banned, but if you keep trying to skirt things, that's going to happen no matter where you are. See, look, I finally caught up to when I said that Twitch could suck a dick. Yay! That should be the next Patreon art piece. Me in a bikini and a hot tub. No, if he tries to draw it, there will be flame and fire. Was it Orca College? I don't. Like I said, I don't remember the book that had the ogre in it. But the main character, if I remember right, was an ogre, not an orc. So, puppy, puppy. I really enjoy the expanded healing time of Binding Words that continue to be a larger part of the series going on. I'm not sure, Sup. I mean, we're gonna have to find out. He is trying to establish himself as somebody who is helpful. He's trying to build a base, and it's easier to build a base if you are actively making people's lives better, making them healthier, than it is if you're just a reclusive engineer. So, doop. Sup answered. Okay. Despite the glorious beard, what fantasy character would you want to be if you could be one? It's more than likely going to be dwarf. First of all, glorious beard. I mean, I know you say, you know, that despite the glorious beard, but let's be honest, glorious beard. You do not see a gloriously bearded elf. Doesn't happen. Um, so it would probably have to be dwarf. The funny part of that is that the only real quote unquote beers that I like are like dark stouts. So I would be a beer snob as a dwarf. I wouldn't just drink any beer. No, I am not a dwarf. Oh, I'm not. That's beer snob. That's what I said. Hello, sir. I am glad I could finally make it to a stream. Huge fan of AR. Can't wait for more. Well, Archon. I'm pretty sure that's Archon. Even though there's no R there. It's Acheron. How can that be Archon when there's no R in it? Acheron? Could be Acheron sticks. I want to say Archon though, just because of the way it's laid out to start with, and I'm fairly certain it's wrong. Words are hard, folks. Take it from me. I work with them every day, and then I make my editors fix them because somebody has to. It ain't gonna be me. Have you tried out the Elden Rings? Are you a fan of the Soul style games? I am not. I play games to relax, have fun, not throw my controller across the room. Funny that, I know. That and I suck at anything that is Twitch based at all. Things like Dark Souls, where you have to be able to, time your rolls. I'm not really good at that. Really, really bad at that, in fact. I didn't have Twitch reflexes when I was a child, and I sure the fuck don't have them now. I prefer turn-based games. Hey, Raminator, things are going pretty good. Thanks for popping in. It is Acheron. Well, Sticks, welcome in. Is this a slightly tipsy version of the writer? It is not Torque, actually. I very rarely drink at all, honestly. Most of my drinking is social drinking. I am normally with people when I have a drink. Um, I will have a couple of drinks normally during like Dragon Con, especially at dinner with friends. Um, but I don't normally crack one open or have a glass of any given day. I want to say maybe once a month. Dragon Con's the exception. Dragon Con, I probably have one or two a day while I'm at Dragon Con. But then again, I'm very selective in my imbibing. When I do decide to break open something here at home, it's normally a whiskey. Um, could be a bourbon. Um, Garrison Brothers Bourbon. They're a Texas distillery. I've enjoyed a lot of their bourbon. I'm normally not a huge fan, but they've got some good ones. Writer's Tears whiskey is a whiskey I really enjoy. Um, so yeah, I mean it all depends. Not a huge beer fan though. Kind of like wine. My Italian heritage um, rolls over and plays dead every time somebody presents me with wine because I'm not a huge fan of spoiled grape juice. I super appreciate the X-ray feature. Yeah. Want to buy the X-ray feature on Audible? Fair enough, Raph. Would be very hard to do. Let's be honest. Eventually, I will have because it is slowly being worked on by people. The wiki, which will have the relative information you need for characters for each series. It's being worked on slowly by people, not by me. That takes time. I'm really bad with characters and reading multiple series. I mean, yeah, that happens to all of us. I'm better with characters. Um, Actually, I've never had that problem. Even series that I haven't read in like 2 years, because let's be honest, traditionally published books come out like every 2 to 12 years. I've never had that problem with characters. Even before I started writing in Lit RPG, when I was diving into a book a day, um, and characters are one of those things I can normally place, especially after a little bit of time. I do try to do that with all my series, Mike. I have to go back and double check. I've done it for Binding Words 8. I can't remember if I did because it's normal. I normally can't set it up until a couple days after the book goes live. And I don't remember if I've done it for Binding Words 8. I might not have yet, and if I haven't, I apologize. I will do so in the next day or two. They've run longer, um, on average, Sam. I think it was 120, 130 something, 160, 120 in AR5 before it's edited was 150. So on average, they run longer than my other books, from a little to a lot. Chunky, as my editor says. Will Sean ever have male staff with him moving towns? Well, Rain, that kind of gets addressed in. I want to say it was Binding Words 8, where he has a talk with Fiona about staff. Might have been 7, but I think it was 8. So it was. I mean, it was pretty clearly said why. Well, Outlaw, that's fair. Some people have a hard time with names. Some people have a hard time with faces. So we all have our moments of struggle. Knowing what they are is one of those things that you can try to help overcome in your life. Might not be able to beat the stupid out of people, but it might be fun to try. In some cases, very fun to try. I wonder if instead of killing Skippy, if he got sent to something like Arkham Asylum and experimented on, would that be good? Probably not. I really have a problem with Arkham Asylum considering how many times they escape. Mm, I'm gonna keep putting these people in prison, even though they kill and murder and pillage and cause mass destruction in the city, because that's such a great idea. It's not like they're gonna get out inside of 6 months and do it again. Mm. I always had a problem with Batman. You might not be able to beat the stupid out of people, but it's fun to duct tape them to a tree. That means I have to spend the time around them long enough to duct tape them to a tree, though. There's there is there is a downside to that. Let's be honest. Hey, Mr. Shinhofen, love your books. AR is becoming my favorite. Well, Cover, I appreciate that. You don't have to call me Mr. Shinhofen though. Daniel is fine. I'm kind of informal. I also go by Ogre. I've been an ogre most of my life. Prefers caves, grumpy, yells at people. Very much an ogre. Kind of like an onion, has layers. If you peel one back, you'll find more of the same, and it'll make you cry. Uh, I have more comments, sometimes smarky comments, than I have questions these days. That's fine, Raph. It's fine. We all go through those stages of life. I've always had snarky comments. My questions are few and far between because it's just harder to reach out and try to think of things that people might want to ask, which is why I do these, where I don't have to come up with things to say. I just have to answer things. Much easier for me. Where would you put the line between romance novel and erotica in terms of detail of the intimate moments? Um, Descriptive quality. Most romance, you don't get high levels of detail of the intimate moments. You get, heaving chests, kisses, um, and then it depends on which romance you're talking about. If you're talking like Harlequin dime store novels, then there is no line between them. Um, but normally it's build up, fade to black for romance novels, as opposed to erotica where you get a lot of turgid flesh and wet caves and stuff. And let's be honest, those are things that are horrible to read because they can be described better, which is why I have an editor, which you can't see because my head's in the way. My editor says that sex scenes in combat are very, very similar because it's a lot of the same repetitive actions, and you have to find a way to not reuse the same words so that the scene flows easier. So, I remember I found a Naginata in the Elden Ring. Time to make a Greg build. If they have foresight, you can do it. I remember a lot of orcs in books, maybe a giant, some giant blood. Not a lot of ogres and trolls. There's a whole series based on trolls. Um, Steve Rowland, I want to say his name is. Probably butchering the name. Yeah, I know. When I say when people say trolls, the first two things that go through mind are the little figures with the really colorful spiky hair, and the other, of course, is D&D based troll because I've played so much D&D in my life. Daniel, the pinky high beer snob dwarf. I mean, yeah, probably. What do you mean you don't have a dark stout and all you have is this light pilsner? I can't drink this filth. Sounds about right. You suck at anything Twitch based you see on Twitch. I mean, it's true. Sage Saga. I don't rage at games, so I have a lot of fun with Elden Ring. Also, I'm decent at dodging, which helps. Yes, but see, if you were not decent at dodging, you probably wouldn't have as much fun. Let's be honest. Being killed repeatedly really takes a lot of fun out of games. For those of us who have died repeatedly in games, it takes a lot of the fun out of the game. There are those people who love really difficult games because then the accomplishment is so much sweeter, they say, and just go, that's fair, I understand. If I'm gonna play that kind of game where there's gonna be a high difficulty, though, I'll probably play a sports game, where at least if I plan things correctly, I have a better chance, and it's not quite as, oop, I missed that roll. Great, restart the level. Would love to see a live or bloopers of your editors going through a fresh chapter. I could see the chaos now. Yeah, that will probably never happen because it would give too many spoilers of the book itself. Nah. What if anything was one of the inspirations for the world of AR? It has familiar ingredients but is pretty unique as well. It's cultivation based, but it's removed enough from most base cultivation novels that it's its own thing. And I knew I was going to start off with an academy. So, Magic Academy meets cultivation was kind of the okay. That sounds like a neat idea. Who's the main character? What is his basis? And let's see what runs from here. When I started AR, there was a brief moment when I was writing it where I was debating having Rhea actually become a Magi too and go off to the academy with them. But then that would have devolved more into the young teenage love story where they're in college and then the jock decides he wants to hit on the main character's girlfriend and I can't write that. I'm really bad at young angst. So we got the version instead where Greg goes alone, which I think has worked out better overall. But the inspiration was kind of like, there's a lot of cultivation. A lot of cultivation for me falls down because most of cultivation is very, very murder hobo society. You have something I want, therefore I'm just going to kill you and take it. And they don't have enough reasoning why the ultra powerful haven't just crushed everybody underneath them. Um, because in most of them, it's clearly okay to walk up on the street and just challenge and kill somebody and take their stuff. And I always had that problem with a lot of cultivation novels. Society as itself kind of falls apart at that point. So there needed to be a little more structure to the idea of cultivation. And I wanted to do the training of how do cultivators, these young magi, learn, you know, how to do what they do. So it needed an academy. Okay, well, if I'm gonna have an academy for these young cultivators, what's the reason behind this academy? And it made sense then for a country to be using magi as their shock troops, shock and awe. I mean, there's not nearly as many of them as there are everyday people, but when they are there, they can be a force all of their own. Um, so it made sense then that the Empire would be like, we'll train them, and they will be beholden to us for so many years, and that's what I went with. That was a long explanation, honestly. Where was I? I scrolled too far. I scrolled too far. Smoky old fashioned. The smoky old fashioned from the Ritz at Dragon Con is fucking delicious. Love that thing. No problem. Thank you for stopping in. Make sure to check back later, SB, and see if you're one of the winners. Because, of course, at the end of everything, I will pick names probably tomorrow, depending on how late this runs. I'll probably pick names tomorrow, but then I will message people here on Twitch. So do check your Twitch messages sometime later tomorrow to see if you're one of the winners. We're It's been an hour, so I'm gonna go back and recap just like current events to catch everyone up who came in later. So of course, Binding Words 8 came out last month. Um, well received. I'm glad that everyone's still enjoying Sean's story with me, with the issues that it might or might not have for some people. Um, I had been writing A through Survival 5 because, of course, that is the next book we're going to publish. Current release, projected release date, June 1st. We'll probably get it out a little before that, though. I do try to over to push my release dates back further than I think they're going to be, so I can always give you something sooner instead of having to tell you it's going to be later. Um, that does mean I will be starting in on Dungeon Walkers 3 here shortly. Apocalypse Gates 8 audio, One Nation Under dot dot dot, um, goes live on the 26th of this month, so in 9 more days. And Andy has finished recording AR4 audio. She has the corrections to do, and then we will be giving it off to ACX. So we should be seeing AR4 audio probably sometime in May. If it comes out before that, that'll be great. I will, of course, plaster it all over my normal media when I know that it's out, so you can all get your hands on it. But but I think that pretty much catches us up on everything now. So I will go back to answering questions. Okay, got there. Smoky old fashions. Yes, yes, yes. Going to bed. Yes, yes, yes. After dealing with us crazy people, he need to kill his brain cells. I mean, there's not many left in there, honestly, guys. It's almost midnight. You're heading off to bed. See, and this is one of the reasons what we're doing a late Pacific Coast time does mean that people are going to be dropping off as the East Coast run towards midnight and beyond. Of course, it does mean that it's getting up to like 5 a.m. across the pond in Europe, possibly a little later. So there is the chance we'll get a few more transatlantic people showing up as well. Your time is better spent writing. I think we can all agree on that. Fair enough, Vig. I actually prefer writing. Um, I know some authors who have a hard time finding the time or making themselves sit down to write. Um, I enjoy it. The stories for me have always flowed very well. Um, I always enjoy my stories when I'm writing them. So I guess I'm just lucky in that regard. You can provide PDFs with audiobooks. You can always put the X-ray information in one and attach, though I tend to re-listen to the entire series every time a new book is released. It gets ooh, wow, that's hello Twitch. What are you doing? Very very glitchy there for a second. That was unideal. Let me double check. Currently not downloading anything on Steam, so I don't know. Okay. Uh good with characters and details, but usually names are hard. Fair enough. Sorry, that's where the comment had been. rereading an entire series before the next book comes out. That gets hard when the series starts stretching into the high numbers, 9, 10, and so on. I mean, that's a significant time investment for some people to go back through an entire series. I would always say it doesn't hurt to go back to the last book of a series and give it a read though. That would help refresh everything going into the next book of a series. So even then, the series that stretch on long, you have a chance of refreshing things before you get into the next one. Any chance of Empire's Gambit official rulebook is a bonus incentive for Patreon or an appendix in a book? Not from me, because once again, that means time away from writing things. Honestly, there were some people who were working on uh, an Empire's Gambit game. Um, APOC over on Discord was one of them. I don't keep up with where they are on things, but I know that they were slowly working their way through trying to make things happen. Arkham Asylum is just a plot device, which is fine, but it's a suck ass plot device, let's be honest. We're going to put them in this insane asylum jail that they're going to break out of every few episodes, so we have to capture them all over again. Never mind the many, many hundreds or thousands of lives they destroy in the process. At some point, wouldn't somebody just shoot them? Just saying. Well, Twitch has decided to not let me watch the video. I'm sorry to hear that, Rocket. I hope you have a good night. But we don't want to create more villains. It's hard, and people notice when we just reskinned them. I mean, fair enough. Sentence the Troll. Thank you. See, I knew there was a troll based book. I just couldn't remember the name of it offhand. Sammy, talking about sex and fight scenes flow. Okay. Are we going to be blessed to get AR5 soon? We will get it on or before June 1st, Ryan. That I can tell you. Eventually soon. That's another way of saying it. I hope there are some bloopers put at the end of AR. Those are the funniest. It all comes down to whether or not Andy records them when she's recording the book. That's what it comes down to. Um, she has a hard time herself accepting the bloopers because she doesn't want to feel like she's intentionally trying to make things funny. So it comes down to whether or not there were funny moments that she recorded. If she did, we have bloopers. If she didn't, we don't have bloopers. I know there was at least one. So there will be at least one blooper at the end of AR5 because I know there was one that hinges off of Light Shield that becomes a Monty Python that pulls a Monty Python joke in. Right. Actually, I'm always interested in what comes first. Depends on the book, Mike. Sometimes the main character will come first. This is a character I want to write a story around. Um, this is how we end up with Alvin. I want to write an asshole. Well, what kind of story works well for an asshole main character? An apocalypse setting where someone can be, abrasive and yet still be needed enough that people don't shove him out the door and not want to talk to him. Um, Sometimes it's the world. Um, in the case of Binding Words, hey, it's a Fae story. We're gonna touch on Celtic myth and legends. How does what kind of main character do I need here? So I mean, it all depends on the story I'm writing. MC interview one and MC interview question one. What is your name? Question 2, what makes you the one? Question 3, why are you going out on an adventure? I mean, that works for most standard um, zero to hero stories, doesn't it? The rise to fame stories, the hero's journey. Who are they? Why are they special? And why are they going to go out and become special? Um, that's just the hero's journey, summed up nicely, honestly. Sometimes you have somebody who's special who just doesn't want to be special. He'd much rather just sit at home and make toasters and doesn't get the choice. I refuse to be special, but the world will not let me. We know that Lightshield is old and getting close to the end of his life, but how old is he? I don't believe it's ever stated exactly, Outlaw, how old Lightshield is. We know that his great grandfather was Lighthand, who was there at the very start of the Empire. Um, and we know Magi can live a long time, dependent on their level of advancement. But I don't believe it's ever stated how old exactly he is. You do get a glimpse of where like a sage and an elder get in lifespan with AR5. There is a little moment in there where you can infer a bit more, but it's never stated with clear hard numbers. Do you think Greg will meet one of the last few past wives in the next few books? I mean, maybe. That question can be taken a few ways, so I'm gonna go maybe. Star Trek engineering rules: always overquote your times. I mean, yeah, this way when you get the dilithium crystal chamber working again, it's amazing, and you're the best engineer ever. And the starship isn't scattered across a few light years of debris. What is the next series that would likely get sunsetted? Well, if the stories progress and everything continues to sell right, it would be Binding Words. It is the one that is closest to the overall finished goal in my head when I started the series. Um, if we go based off of business standpoint, it could be Dungeon Walkers, it could be Lux Voice. Both of those sell drastically less well than Binding Words and Aether's Revival. Um, so it depends. Wait, see. Out of curiosity, do you sell well outside of the states? If you get that information, there is a breakdown, Mike. I don't really break it down. I know that my selling outside of the states, Canada, the UK, Germany, and Australia are the four that are at least enough are consistent enough that I can look at and go, I'm selling here. Um, Comparatively though, maybe 10% out of any given one of them. Probably more like 5% of U.S. sales compared to any one of the other of those four. I mean, I do sell books there. People do read the books there from KU, but it's not as pronounced. The U.S. is the biggest market for me. I mean, I still get like a read or so out of India because the rupee. I get a read or two out of Russia or Japan, but the four nations I mentioned are at least consistent enough that I can look at them and be like, hey, I have a fan in Canada, or I have a fan in Australia. I know at least I have a few fans in Australia because I've sent them things. Just like I know I have some fans in Germany. I've sent them things. All right, I still have to wait for the post office to let me send a package to Australia. I've had the package for 7 months now because either the U.S. Postal Service isn't shipping to Australia or Australia isn't receiving. I know I've tried to take it down to the post office and send it a couple times now. I've been told I can't because of restrictions. So I've told that person that's supposed to get the package repeatedly that as soon as I can, I will send it off to them. Luckily, they've been nice enough to understand. I can get coins through a lot of places under regular mail instead of packages, but sending packages to some places is still not allowed. So, MC interview question number 4: What makes you likable? Let's be honest, Raph. Some main characters are not likable. Some main characters you probably want to punch in the face at least a couple of times. I was listening to Annie record AR4 and she was doing a scene. The darkness said something I can't remember what she said, but Andy went off and goes, "She's a dungeon core. It's official, you guys." I don't believe she recorded that one. I don't believe she recorded that one. She might have. I'll find out. She doesn't always give me the bloopers when she gives me the book to audio proof. So I don't know if that one is recorded or not. We'll have to find out together. It's been a long week. I've enjoyed the chat, but I need to go. That's fine, Struggles. Thank you for struggling through with us. I appreciate it. Make sure to check back later, see if you're one of the winners, though. The Baron, you as well. I understand needing to go to work in the morning. I will be at my computer writing a chapter. Chapter 1. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. They'd had the tacos the night before. No, that's when they eat sausage. That's when it's really the worst of times. No, that was a debacle of times. When they had the sausage, that's when it became the worst of times. Do you ever get an idea for a next series on deck? Not saying you need to stop a current series, just curious how you manage your cycles. Um, Binding Words actually came about because the idea would not stop. I was writing Alpha World and Apocalypse Gates. I think it was like book 2 maybe of Apocalypse Gates, and like book 5 or 6 of 8 of Alpha World. And I was like just starting to get into this bouncing back and forth between series and like, hey, this kind of works. I like this. This kind of works. And Binding Words, the first book of Binding Words, basically threw itself in my head and was like, grabbed me by the brain and was like, you will write me, human. And I was like, I'm an ogre. And it's like, fine, you will write me, ogre. And I'm like, fuck, dude, okay. Put down the knives. Just put down the knives, okay? Back away. I'll write you. So sometimes, yes, sometimes the ideas demand that I write them. In that case, normally, in the case of Binding Words, I went ahead and just wrote the book and then slid it into rotation. I'm like, fine, three book rotation. Let's do this. I also knew that eventually Alpha World was going to stop anyway, and I was getting towards getting on later in the series, and I'm like, it'll be okay. I can do 3. And then more and more ideas were like, hey, hey, did you see that motherfucker cut the line? Did you see that shit? If we just make a little more noise, we might be able to do that. So at this point, I hold firm on I am only going to publish a 4-book rotation. I've held that line now for 3 years, might be 4 years. I think it's 3 years, 4-book rotation. And I've held that line. I've held that line. And I might or might not have been spending all my free time of late slowly working on something else, possibly or maybe not. There might or might not be something special on Patreon in the next couple of days. Possibly, perhaps, maybe not. Just saying. Sometimes ideas just jump up and demand to be written. Other times I'm like, this is something I want to get to. Dungeon Walkers might have been a mecha story, but I wanted to get to Dungeon Walkers a little bit more. So I got Dungeon Walkers instead. So that is that is why we have Dungeon Walkers in the spot it's in now, because I knew Apocalypse Gates was going to end, and I couldn't get to my research trip at the time. So I went, okay, I'll go ahead and write the next fourth book of a series, or the next book to take over the fourth spot of my rotation while I wait for being able to take my trip. And it was Mecha, Dungeon Walkers, and eventually Dungeon Walkers 1. So I've been bouncing back and forth on, what the next series is going to be when I get another spot open. And it's most likely going to be Mecha, but I've also had some other ideas that have really been starting to push higher in my brain. Like I've really been considered maybe trying my hand at a non-harem book. I know it's okay. Put down the pitchforks, put down the torches. It would be it would still be a romance. We would still have a main character and a woman with a relationship. It's okay, folks. Calm down. Calm down. I know it's radical. I know it's radical. I haven't written it yet. It might never be written. It was just an idea. Okay. Please don't string me up and tar and feather me yet. After I write it, then you can do it. Don't kink shame. Where was I? I need to go get some food in bed. No problem, Sup. Thanks for popping in. We are gonna apparently slowly start losing people. So apparently around 9:30 Pacific time is where we're gonna is probably a point where I should be looking at stopping live chats before. But I'm not going to do that at the moment because I still have questions to get through. I see the blue flame on your shirt. AR merch, where can I get that one? Look, Sammy already answered it. Thank you. For the audiobook bloopers, if you're listening to her record it, you hear some and you hear something, you could call it out. It's true, Raph. And I know that she sometime then snipped out that piece and kept it for a blooper. And other times she's like, nah, it wasn't quite good enough. So, but at least there's the chance then that there's enough peer pressure to get her to snip something out. Have you ever wanted to have an MC die in a book and have another MC? No. No, I mean the concept's been done before. I can think of a couple of books that have done it. Can't think of their names off the top of my head, but I know a couple of books that have done it. Um, but no, it kind of feels like a bait and switch at that point. If you do it in the first chapter, like I killed Sean, Binding Words 1, Chapter 1. If um if there were two, if it had been Sean and James there, and I do a bait and switch, you started with James to start with, and he dies, and then Sean dies, and then you just go off and follow Sean instead from chapter 2 on. You could probably get away with it. Um, but I mean, you could use it as a plot device where the main if you'd have to do it as third person. If you're doing it as first person, I don't think it works. Third person, you could probably do it. You could do over the shoulder, following John as he gears up because he's going to go out and become the next great hero. And his friend Frank tells him, dude, we should just stay home. This isn't a great idea. But then he goes and follows his friend out, and then John dies to a dragon that just got hungry and picked him up and ate him on the way by. And Frank goes, you know what, motherfucker, that was my friend. And then chases, the whole story of going out to kill the dragon that ate his friend. You could probably get away with that and switch the narrative then to following Frank instead. But like mid series or something, or even late in a book. Nah, I don't care for stories that switch points of view though. So, especially points of view that are the bad guys. I don't want to know what the antagonist is doing. Let me find out when the hero finds out. I don't want the antagonist to try to justify their actions in a chapter. Instead of video of them proofing a current book, have them proof an older book. My editor, by the way, as I read that question out behind me, you can see her shake her head in the background. That was an emphatic no vocally though, as well. So it's mentioned a few times, Vig, throughout the series. So yeah, when 900 years old you are, you will not look as good. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Yoda. The, the Muppet with the furry ears. The Emperor doesn't have access to all three paths, right? I don't know, Xbox. I don't think it's been definitively stated. I know a lot of people in the world think he does. Does he? Does he not? We don't have confirmation on that. How did you start marketing your work? Lots of artists and writers seem to have trouble marketing their work. Um, Sage, Saga, thank you. I was correcting, my editor corrected me as I was about to correct myself, but that's why she's an editor. She's there to correct my words. Sage Saga. I don't market, honestly, hardly at all. I use Facebook for the majority of my advertising, as it were, by just mentioning the fact that the next book is out in some groups. I use my mailing list to tell those people who have been kind enough to subscribe to that because I send out an email to them. I posted on Twitch. I posted on Twitter. I mentioned my blog. I use Discord, my Discord. Um, but I got started writing lit RPG when Western lit RPG was like really just starting to get a groundswell back when the Land Book 1 was starting and stuff. So since I got in on basically the ground floor of the quote unquote genre at the time, um, my name at this point has been around long enough that there's, oh hey, Shinofin just put out a new book, and my fan base, you guys, will spread it across social media for me as well, which by the way I'm very grateful for. Thank you very much. Um, but I myself, because I've had an author recently ask me what kind of advertising I use. I don't. I don't have any advertising. I because I know some of them use like the Facebook advertising, and other people use Amazon advertising, and I haven't used any of them. I've just used the social media that I can use, and you guys. So, uh, how do you enter the giveaway? Well, um, Archon, you're here. You interact with the stream. Um, my editor behind me goes, "This person is being active, and they're helping you talk longer, and they're helping you make a fool of yourself." Well, kind of scratch that one off a little bit. And she takes your names down, and at the end of it, I take all of those names and I count them up. And normally we get into like the 40s, and then I break out a handy dandy random number generator, and I go, "Hey, we had 42 people this month. Give me a random number." And then highlight them on my list, and then give me a random number and highlight them on my list. And after I've picked normally about 10%, so 4 to 5 people, depending on how many people we've had show up, I then contact them and say, "Hey, congratulations. Which challenge coin would you like?" Which it used to be done on Facebook, but Facebook was giving me a lot of grief with trying to do video chats there, so we've since moved over here to Twitch. What do you think helped you break through in the genre, and what advice would you give people trying to break in now? Do you think there are differences between your era and what the genre has now the genre has matured a bit. Um, what do you think helped you break? I got in on the ground floor, I said just a little while ago. There was not a glut of authors who were writing lit RPG slash game lit when I published Last Horizons beta. Um, and even when I wrote the first Alpha World, the genre was not as huge as it was now. So I do have to think that part of my success was the fact that I was there at the start and I had enough name recognition that people are still interested in my books. What advice would I give for people trying to break in now? Good luck. Um, Sadly, write. I always say write something that you're gonna enjoy because it's easier to write it. You can normally also tell when somebody has enjoyed writing something as opposed to them just trying to get a, words down on paper, or at least I believe I can. Um, Write something you feel comfortable with. Some people want to switch genres up all the time, or they'll try to write to market, and that's successful for some people. I have stuck with pretty much where I've been. I've written roughly the same harem-esque series over everything for the last like 6 years now. I write harem. I write a poly relationship type of story because I can do so. I've had some knowledge in this area. Um, the differences between then and now is quite simple. The number of new books that come out any given day. Back then, there were a couple dozen authors who were writing, and now you have a couple hundred or more authors writing. So it's harder to make your book stand out over everyone else who is publishing now. The nice thing is I've seen from a fan base perspective, not mine, just general of like game lit fans. If you write a compelling enough story, people will start posting about it in the groups. Hey, just finished X, really good. This is why you should check it out. And then somebody else will pick it up and read it. And then, a few days later or a week or so later, you'll get another one of those posts. Hey, I got recommended this book and I wrote it. I wrote it. I read it and I really enjoyed it. And you guys should check it out. And you'll slowly start to chip away then into making a name for yourself. Or the other part will happen, which is, hey, I read this book and it was shit, and you guys should really stay away from it. And then it gets much much harder to slowly find your way. Uh, ba ba ba. Uh, I think sure. Could you ship it to the UK and then have it forwarded to Australia? I don't know Xbox. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's the U.S. Postal Service who's doing it, or if it's an Australia Postal Service who's doing it. Because I know it's. I've tried to send stuff to the UK and had not the UK to Australia and had issues. I've tried to send things to New Zealand and had issues. I think it was Singapore. Might have been Singapore. Two of those were coins, and I then just posted them as mail, standard mail, not packages, and they were able to get through. But when I tried to send them as packages, the system said "fuck off and die." So, however, the package I'm talking about is a couple of signed books to the person who won them last October. So I can't just declare those as regular mail. Customs won't let that happen. So, has AR surpassed Binding Words in popularity, or is Sean still holding on? They're very close. Sometimes Binding Words looks like it's more popular. Other times AR looks like it's more popular. Of course, when I post one of those books, it always looks more popular than the other one. Um, AR might slowly be edging out Binding Words in popularity, though, as the series continues. So Those two always seem to go basically neck and neck though. Thank you for the live chat. My alarm went off at 3 a.m. and my steering wheel holding my ass needs to face plant. That's fine, Outlaw. Get your sleep, man. Make sure you're safe when you're driving, please. Who wins between Sage? I'm sorry, Sage. You just got killed because you're facing Sean, Greg, Alvin, and Albert in a cage match style battle royale. Well, it depends. If we're going just off of sheer physical prowess, that's one thing. If we're going to start using everything they can use, that's another thing. Um, and actually, in that case, it only comes down to two. It comes down to Sean and Greg at that point. When you have basically two fledgling gods versus anyone else, depends. Foresight? No. Force shields? No. So guns kind of lose in some cases. Um, sorry, Sage, you got murdered somewhere in there, probably by Alvin, honestly. But I mean, if you're using all powers and abilities, Sean and Greg being fledgling gods has a huge advantage over everyone else in there. Do we know what tier? I would put it up at just flat Patreon levels. So the lowest tier and up. If I post it, I might not. I might. I might not. I'm a fickle god. My D&D group can tell you that. The if you guys have signed up for the mailing list, I had written a short for it way back when I made the mailing list. So it is Alpha World, Last Horizons, and Apocalypse Gates. And it's those three stories doing a like team battle PvP style. Um it has not been updated since. Was it, Sean? No, Last Horizons wasn't it. It might have also been Binding Words. It might have been those four. But it was a PvP battle royale. So if you have not yet signed up for the mailing list, you should. It's a fun little short story. It's the only crossover I've done. The only crossover I'll probably ever do. If I update it at some point, um, that'll be different. But I don't. I'm never gonna write a novel that crosses over. At this point, you've earned enough faith in your writing that I'll give anything you write a fair shake, and that's what it comes down to, Paul. Um, I've like I said, I've had enough credibility in the genres and stuff now that, or I've had enough longevity in the genres and stuff that people will give it a chance. They'll at least read the first book of a new series and decide whether or not it's going to be worth going on or not. Uh, Heliander records a new experience. Eastern Standard Time is not in the East Coast. We're 3 hours ahead of you, but the East Coast is at least one more hour ahead of us. I mean, it depends on whether or not you're doing daylight savings time and stuff, and blah 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 too. So, thou shall not become the abomination, which is George R. R. Martin. Well, oh, you like so and so? I'll kill them now. I don't ever plan on doing that. DJ writes a book every 6 months. About as far. No, no, no. I I write a book every month and a half to 2 months. I publish the next book of any given series every 6 to 8 months. I laugh at traditional published authors at this point who, hey, after 3 years, I finally published this book. Really? Good for you. In 3 years, I've published like 21. But hey, everyone's got different goals in life. Oh, your publisher had to lock you in a motel room for the last 2 months to make you finish your book. Oh, okay. Right there with you. Hate books that jump between people or groups. I try to stick with one person. The most I've done that I can think of is as the main character leaves, sticking back, keeping the camera back for a bit to see like an interaction from people as they leave. So it's the most I can think of. Or or no, because in AR I've done I had the cutscenes where you saw the novice's perspective when they're fighting on the field. But the main character was there. They're in the stands watching the fight. You just got a little more in depth understanding of what the novice was thinking as they fought. Oh, Hope you are here. Did the lizard come out? The lizard came out, Xerox, right at the start of the stream. So if you go back and watch it again later, you will see the mighty dragon dinosaur riding the Sammy shoulder. Have you ever thought about writing a run-off that would give you a new novel? If you mean spin-off, Rain, he says run-off, but I'm thinking he means spin-off, which is basically, hey, you've established this world. Here's a different story out of it. No, because that's still a different world. It would be like writing a different main character in Alpha World, writing a different main character in Delta World. If you mean that, you mean a spin-off instead of a runoff. Normally not. Um, I write I write a character. Is there a chance that I would eventually, write a different character in the same setting? It's unlikely. I'll never say absolutely not, but it's very unlikely. Any more news on the Harem Purge by Amazon? Not at the moment. Last I heard, they were checking. They were checking blurbs, keywords, and reviews. So if reviews mentioned harem, for instance, then people were starting to catch flack as well. So yay! It's not even anything that the author thing can control themselves. But blurbs and keywords specifically from the author side of things, if you have in there um, anything about like BDSM or multiple partners, whether it's harem or poly, those kinds of things, they were some authors, not me yet. Some authors were starting to get grief back from Amazon about about their book being basically thrown into the Amazon dungeon, which means you have to have a direct link. You can't search for it, which kind of kills the book being able to get pushed out to other people. Leo, no problem. Thank you for coming in. Hope you have a good night. Please check back later. Do the love interests in the series reflect people in your lives? Like, is X in a story inspired by Y? Paul, it has happened before. Gothy was two women I've loved in my life. Aspects of them from each of them pulled out, slammed together, and made into a new person. So yes, it does 100% happen. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Uh, I mean, as outside of love interest, though, Sean from Binding Words, and I clarify, outside of love interests, Sean from Binding Words is based off of my friend. I get to to make fun of him every time a new Binding Words comes out. So I'll just draw myself winning. Yes, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. However, I guarantee you I can write more than 1,000 words before you finish your drawing. It is, but I finally got to the comment. Uh, PSA PSA for challenge coin winners: keep checking multiple times after the chat. I checked a couple of times, didn't check back till this session. Oh, did you finally see that you had won last time, Paul? I will I will commiserate with you probably tomorrow because after this I will face plant into unconsciousness. But at the same time, I start sending off congratulatory messages to other people. And it's very simple. It's which challenge coin and your mailing address for me to send it to for the winners. So I am on the mailing list, but never got the short story. It should have been mailed to you. It's there. It's set up that when you register, you get an email. So it might have hit your spam folder at the time. Dragonfly Dreams. Uh, I'm wearing the same shirt. It's like my subconscious knew there was an event tonight. Well done, Paul. I got on the mailing list last year. I mean, it's still attached for people who join the mailing list at this point. It's set up as a hey, you joined, it gets mailed to you. Like I said though, it probably hit your spam folder. It's only 12:37 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm here for another 6 or 8 hours. That's because you keep graveyard shift, Sage. Might be on par with you from pure word count perspective in the past few years. He very well might. Oh, Sanderson is no longer traditionally published though. He has gone into self-publishing. He made his own publishing company to publish his own books. Something I've seen a lot of authors do of late. That reminds me of another author I've read who wrote a series and left it on a cliffhanger for 10 years. That would be Rufus? I can't think of his name. Good morning, Matt. Hello, Matt. Good morning to you. You must be across the pond somewhere. Welcome in. You have caught your first live chat. Congratulations. Thank you for coming in. It's fine, Sage. It's fine. I understand. It's not so much that you owe me a bunch of art, you owe me a project. Let's be honest. A bunch of art just sounds like, one-off pieces that you put together. And we both know what you're working on that's never been talked about anywhere. So it's much more of a project. Oh, I have caught up on chat. Look at that. Oh, guys, I've caught up. It's terrible. We're almost 2 hours in and I've caught up. Because we all know what happens when I catch up to chat. So go ahead and get your last questions in, guys, because we've caught up. Get your last questions in now, and I'll give them one more go. I'll sign my husband up and steal it from him. He won't mind at all since he's the one that got me to read your books to start with. I recently cleaned out my spam folder. Oh. Dragonfly, message me on, Facebook or Discord or here your email address you signed up on the mailing list with, and I will do my best to see about getting you that short story again. course you're not getting details tonight, Vig. It might never happen. Once again, I told you it might. It might not. And being the cruel and capricious God that I am, it very well might just be a not. Get you guys all hyped, get you all over to Patreon, get you all get your eyes focused on it, and then disappoint you. Now you know what my editors feel like. Okay. You think? What do you think of the art forgery epidemic and stuff? Good try, Paul. Good try. I mean, guys, it is April. I didn't do anything on the first. I wasn't doing a live chat on the first, right? And I did tell you earlier in the live chat. Sometimes I'm slow. Just saying. I do not know that abbreviation, or I know it. Oh, and when are you gonna get basically a JPEG of me from me that's worth a lot of money? Never. If I have something worth a lot of money, I'm not giving it out. He says he can go to bed because you caught up. Fair enough. Like I said, I'm gonna wrap it up now. So I'm just finishing out the last couple questions before we do the good night. Well, it might be a good night kiss. Which of you is going to be the unlucky one? I don't remember if I've asked this, but what series has gone the most according to plan? Um, Alpha World, actually. It it followed it pretty much what I wanted. Outside of the, I'm going to make this a monogamous succubus. Fucking Stacia. So in that case, at the moment, I'd have to say Aether's Revival. I don't want to ask another question. Thank you all for thank you for all the stories. I really appreciate that, Wolf. I do these because you all support me. So thank you, every single one of you. Do make sure to check your messages here on Twitch tomorrow. See if you have one from me. It'll be basically congratulations. Which challenge coin would you like, and what is your address? So I can see about mailing that off to you if you are one of the winners. There will probably be 5 of you in total. If you do not see a message from me, you're not a winner. If you don't see one from me tomorrow, just check back the next day just to make sure that Twitch didn't have an aneurysm. I think that's fair. Uh, thanks. Ending. Yep. Okay. Okay. I'm coming over here to the end stream button. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for these 2 hours of me rambling, answering questions, generally making a fool of myself, all for your viewing entertainment. I will see about getting this uploaded to YouTube tomorrow because I am going to go faceplant into my soft, lovely bed. Dream horrible things for my characters, and then write about them tomorrow. Until next month, May, we hope to have good news in May, and maybe I'll have an updated release date for you next time we have a live chat. One can hope. Talk to you then.